Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review, another Haftarah review. This week we will be reviewing Haftarah Beshalach, which is one of the portions in the book of Shemot. We first and foremost, I want to give glory to the Most High King, Supreme Intelligence of the universe, Yehudah, who have woken us all up this morning, thanking the Creator for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I pray that the Most High God will continue to be with us, bless us, and protect us. Also, thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for my life and the life of my family, the life who is surrounding me. Thanking the Most High God for the leader of the spiritual leader of our congregation, BINAH, CHOKMAH, even Chief Prince Yadiel Ben Yissaskar. Thanking the Most High God for his life, the life of his family, his household. Praying that the Most High God be with him and protect him. My name is Uziel Lewy. I'm one of the teachers at congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located at 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. In the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. I got it out this week, Red Hook of Brooklyn, New York. And I thank the Creator for my congregation and the people in it. I pray that the Creator will protect us all and keep us safe in the midst of the plague that's in the midst of us. And I pray that the Most High God will continue to protect us. Like we do every week, we will be reviewing the Haftarah portion from the previous week. And doing a review over the things, and the person who will be doing that is the person that does it every week, one of my teachers and my mentor, even Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Good, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the Supreme Intelligent Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And due respects to the platform on D.C.B platform, the spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yariel Ben Yissaskar, the host Chief Uziel, to the princes, Chief, the rabbis out there, the Kohanim, and brothers and sisters, Marine, greet you all and tell my forefathers, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom. First, I'd like to say, Adonai septai dakufi agi tilateaka, O Lord, open down my lips, and my mouth should declare thy praise. I just want to backtrack a little bit on some comments I made in reference to the teaching style before I even go into the Sidra, a little bit Haftarah portion. And Benny Zakin did a lot, adopted, had some powerful speakers from Tabernacle, where the founders of BINAH Zakins are from, Sons of the Ancient, the congregation I happened to grow up under. But the only difference was that they added more curriculum to the teachings. I just want to make sure I bring that out, where you might read, like I say, Chronicles, Kings, different books like that, more extensive in Judges. And besides the prophecy, so whereas they had more of a different type of way of approaching scriptures and Tabernacle. So we, the teaching style was, pretty much the same, except that the curriculum was much more extensive coming under BINAH Zakin. That's why I just want to make sure I make that point clear out there before I can start, because if it was exactly the same, then why would it be a need to start something different? Why would it be a need to focus on something different? And also some of the doctrines are slightly different and greatly different in Tabernacle as opposed to when BINAH Zakin was coming off the ground. So with that being said, we in the Sidra last week was called Beshalach, which means in sent out or in sending out, being thrust out of Egypt. Was the Haftarah of Beshalach was actually becoming that I'd be focusing on a little bit we're reading through, I actually want to read through, which be the Sephardic style part of the Haftarah, which is from the 5th chapter of Judges to the 31st verse. Whereas the Ashkenazim custom, they'll start from the 4th chapter, the 4th verse, give you a little backlog into the storyline. Like I said, the Haftarah, and I want to just focus on that just for a moment before I highlight some things, before I go into it, was a backup plan or something that we was pretty much cornered into doing when now we read in the Maccabees period. Sometimes they might say it start from that period, alone, back in the Maccabean period. But when it became a consistent thing of where it was reading Haftarahs as opposed to the regular Sidra that we do every week, was basically doing a Roman mandate, government, when it was prohibited to read or and teach out the first 5, the CHOKMAH, which being from Genesis to Deuteronomy, and reading that every week, which they traditionally do for centuries, in the synagogue. So they developed a system of reading the Haftarah. And since we don't, when we talk about a custom, it's like when you say, well, what makes a custom become a law or, and something to that effect? Or what is a custom? And some traditions and laws and customs, we don't know exactly the date. Now, we know it is a custom where the Israelites didn't eat the sinew of the shank because Yaakov wrestled with the angel. All right. And so today, a lot of people, when we go to a kosher meat market, unless they take out that sciatic nerve, that part of the animal is considered not kosher according to rabbinic law. All right. But when it comes down to Haftarah, we don't know exactly when it started. We have an idea, when it was prohibited, but when it became part of a major service. And the Haftarah itself, like I said, it doesn't have anything directly to do with the word Torah because it's spelled different, but it means finishing or conclusion. And I figure I'll take this time out now, since we're talking about finishing and conclusion, to bring out certain, bring to light certain customs or performances in it. That normally the traditional setting would be you read the CHOKMAH, the Sidra first, and then after that you go to the Haftarah. Now we have various practices where some people read the Haftarah first because of maybe what we're expounding on, and then they go into the Sidra and expound on that. But technically they will go through the Sidra first, and then they go into the Haftarah, which is really means where the word comes from, finishing or concluding. And it became a practice that if you want to study and read more about it, you have a scholar, they call it Rambam, Moses, Ben Maimonides, or Ben Maimon, what they call the Rambam. And he writes extensively concerning the Haftarah and breakdowns and stuff like that. For those that want to do that, but he's one of the first to actually explain it. But it was going on, and he lived, more than 1,000 years ago. So that lets you know. And before his time, it was going on for basically 1,000 years. So more than 1,000 years, or close to it, give or take. So that means that this tradition was going on for a while. And I don't share that with us because a lot of times when we come up with new terms and we try to practice new customs, sometimes we might not really delve into why, when, and then since it don't have very little to do with this, why bother with it at all? And the Haftarah is taken strictly from the portion of the Tanakh, which we call the Nevi'im, not necessarily the Ketuvim, the Nevi'im. So that's where anytime you read about the Haftarah, it's always from the Nevi'im portion of the book. All right. So and our book is written set up with the CHOKMAH, the first 5, then you got the Nevi'im, and then you got the Ketuvim. So And one of the things we're going to touch on just a little bit. I'd like to go back over the Exodus story just a little bit in Beshalach, and you find some interesting things in it that that I really like to focus on just for a moment before I go into the Haftarah. So that's why normally I always go from the regular Sidra and go into the Haftarah, because that's really what it really was set up like that. It was set up for the Sidra, then the Haftarah. And that's why I pretty much plan my review. So last Shabbat, which is for me was just yesterday anyway, it's called Shabbat Shira, which you got songs. Now we in Beshalach, we know that we posted left Egypt. We know we borrowed from the Egyptians on our way out. And we know that the death of the firstborn, they urged us to leave. And what's ironic is that most people think we actually left that night. We got the permission to leave, but we didn't leave at night. And as we're going to read a little bit and just touch on a few things in this particular Sidra, Beshalach, which he sent out, that we linger around when we was told to leave. First thing in the morning, we started borrowing, getting jewels, gold, everything. We started borrowing a lot of stuff on the way out. But from the 17th verse, I'm just going to bring out some things here. 17th verse of Beshalach. It said, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not by the way of the land of the Philistines, although it was near. But God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. But God led the people about by the way of the wilderness. Well, it says here Red Sea, but actually Yom Su. The Red Sea is actually a different direction. And the children of Israel went up armed out of the land of Egypt. I just want to focus on one more thing I'd like to bring on. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely remember you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And they took their journey from Sukkot and encamped in Ethan in the edge of the wilderness. And then we know about, and the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might go by day and by night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night departed not from before the people. All right, now what's just interesting is some things I want to bring out. One, repent. It used the word from the word nakam, which means the Creator was uncomfortable because the people won't be comfortable. All right, so if you're going to bring a person out or save a person, you could be uncomfortable because of the person's lack of faith and lack of commitment. So therefore, they use the word nakam, which means a sense of comfort. So the Creator was actually not comfortable, similar to when they talk about repenting God for making man, on earth. It was the same situation, same word. Now, what is interesting is that we started off this journey earlier by saying, when Moses and Exodus opened up, that there arose a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. So if the Pharaoh don't know who Joseph is, how do we find those bones later on? That should be a question to be discussed amongst the various congregations. That if this Pharaoh really had no inkling about Joseph, then he didn't exist in the mind or in any kind of thing he know about, then how years later, we're talking about before Moses was born, so we're talking, at least when the hard decree about almost, they really had a hard decree of genocide 86 years. But just give it, give it even 100 years, a century. That Moses, now who've been going, if we say traditionally 40 years from the land of Egypt, how did he's able to find Joseph's bones? How he know where to go? So that's something to discuss. And if Moses know where to go, then how does the Pharaoh before the Pharaoh that we're talking about now, not this Pharaoh, but the Pharaoh we're talking about now, did not know Joseph? So just something to discuss in passing. And then when he said he wanted to bring about the land of Philistines, lest they see war, why would the Creator say that? And I just want to go just a little bit in the book of Chronicles, just a little bit, just to bring out a point that for the further discuss. So it'll be First Chronicles, and it'll be the seventh chapter, the 20th verse. So you can mark it from 7 chapters, First Chronicles, 20th verse to the 23rd verse. And it goes, and the sons of Ephraim, Shuthelah and Bered was his son, and Tahat his son, and Eliadad his son, and Tahat his son, and Zabad his son, and Shuthelah his son, and Esau and Eliab, whom the men of Gat that were born in the land slew, because they came down to take away their cattle. All right. And Ephraim, their father, mourned many days, for his brethren came to comfort him. And when, and he went into his wife, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Beriah, because it went evil in his house. All right. Now, I want to even go a little further now. Only one Ephraim we talk about in scriptures. I just want to bring this out. One Ephraim. And Gat is actually the city of the Philistines. We got a famous guy that came from Gat, which was Goliath. He was the champion of Gat. That's what Goliath means, a champion of Gat. All right. So, so that means that some people broke out early. That's all it is. Some people broke out early. And then how we know some people break out early? Because now when we read, let me just get my extra eyes up in here again. All right, and it said, we're gonna skip down to the 25th verse. All right, because we're talking about these sons, and while we do the 24th, so we might as well go straight on through. And his daughter was Shirah, who built Beth-Haron, the nether and the upper, and Uzen Shirah, and Rephat was his son, and Reshet, and Tula, his son, and Takan, his son, Ladan, his son, Amihud, his son, Elishama, his son, Nun, his son, Joshua, his son. All right, now, we know Joshua's out the tribe of Ephraim, but the actual prince of Ephraim was, Elishama. That was the prince that offered up on the 7th day of the dedication of the tabernacle. That particular guy here in the book of Chronicles. So that Joshua was not the main guy from the tribe of Ephraim. He was but he come from a major line in the tribe of Ephraim. And also that same name in the same genealogy that you read about is this guy, and you go in the book of Numbers, the early part of Numbers, who offer up on the 7th day, you'll find that particular guy, that prince that offer up for the tribe of Ephraim on the 7th day. So this just letting you know that some people broke out early. It was a massacre. The Ephraimites got beat down really bad, but only particularly that particular tribe. Why? A lot of discussions, but this is just for a point of reference. Why this statement's even made here, and some there's a lot of commentaries on it, but I don't want to go into that now. But I just want to bring out that point. That's not just a fly-by-night point. Because the Creator don't make statements that's worthless. It's based on something that's tangible, and also the spiritual side as well. So that's for references for people that want to do more in-depth study. I like to bring that out. Also, you say, okay, why a roundabout way? You know, and then, but I want to figure out the chase scene. All right. In the 14th chapter, well, before we even get to the 14th, 14th chapter. All right. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn back and encamp before Peorot, before Migdal, in the sea, before Baal Zevon. Over against it shall ye encamp by the sea. And Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land, the wilderness has shut them in, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he shall follow after them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord. So we see that we say, okay, God will harden his heart. So people say, that don't seem fair. That don't seem fair at all. But then when we go further on, you know, and look at what it says in the 5th verse, and it was told the king of Egypt that the people were fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants were turned towards the people, and they said, what is this we have done, that we let Israel go from serving us? So that means that it's not just Pharaoh alone. The people had that same kind of sentiment about why. Now, the opposite question is, who the one told Pharaoh, and how did they know that the people wasn't coming back? So those are questions to debate and discuss. Because if everybody leaving and everybody's on the same mission, and you had a mixed multitude going on that mission with them, then you would question and say, okay, who went back and informed Pharaoh that we out for good? Because we wanted to borrow. All right, go ahead. So it brings about a whole nother picture, because it says we was borrowing of the Egyptian, borrowing of the Egyptian, borrowing of the Egyptians. So, and what was the request? The request to go 3 days journey to the wilderness. And where you at? You at the beach. This is where you get ready to go. You over there by the beach, by the sea, the Yam Suf. So you're going in a different direction, number one. You're going out the way from what you say. And right now, it seems like you ain't planning on coming back. And there's no intention of coming back. And these guys, whoever these people is, told Pharaoh. So you could draw a plot from that. You could discuss it further. But I just want to bring those out. And it was just not Pharaoh's sentiment. It was, alone hardened his heart, but it was the people. So you know that even a good Egyptian was no good considering our welfare. And then it said, and he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains over them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, for the children of Israel went out with a high hand. An Israelite couldn't leave or sneak out. Couldn't leave or sneak out at night. We was under house arrest, so to speak. And yet we left in broad daylight with their stuff. And we know, and we said, go ahead, go. And the Egyptians say, go ahead. So with those things in mind, we could, imagine, that say left with a high hand. We weren't trying to go on the down low. And you got their jewels and the clothes is on your children. And you going someplace other than what you say you was going. And you're not intending on coming back. Now, when it said we spoiled Egypt, we took a lot. But we didn't take every single thing, but we took a lot. And what's even remarkable is that 600 chosen chariots Pharaoh had. And but that's not all the chariots that was there. These was the elite. It's almost like, I guess, the Rolls Royce of the chariots of that time. And then you got the local chariots. and he had a whole host of army. So that means that he had an army, like he was going to go to straight out war with a people that wasn't prepared for war. And so those are some of the sceneries we find out. So that means that they didn't leave Egypt right away. They stayed in Egypt for a good little while. I'm just going to skip on down, and they always they start panicking. Of course, the people panic when they they say they lift up their eyes and they saw the army of Pharaoh. And they were scared, and they started complaining. And because there were no graves in Egypt, that was taking us away to die in the wilderness. Wherefore has thou dealt thus with us to bring us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we spoke unto thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? Now we don't read that, but they're telling this to Moses, so Moses could say, you're lying. I never seen that. I never told me that. But they're talking to Moses. That's almost like when I was saying with Genesis with Joseph, that when in the story with the brothers telling their father that the man asked us straightly what happened, and they're talking to Joseph about the same situation. So, and Joseph could say, I never said that. Moses could say, y'all never said that. So we got some missing pieces in scriptures, and that's and I can't hone in enough on that. But we know how the story ended, but when you have a group of people that panic, this statement here, just to be discussed later on, fear not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For whereas you've seen the Egyptians today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. All right. And then the 15th verse, and the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. All right. So that's the only thing I'm going to stop on in that particular portion there. All right. One of the things I like to bring out is that they have a tradition to talk about 4 types of people. In a crowd, when panic hit, the only reason panic hit is because you are indecisive. That's the only reason panic would hit a crowd of people, especially talking about almost 3 million people. So everybody was on board to leave, but everybody ain't on board about the situation now. So you're on board to leave, but you're not on board about the situation. So now they have a tradition. You could discuss it further. I always like to leave those things out for the various congregations and people that listen. That you have some people that want to go head on and hold up the white flag. Yeah, some people that say, look, I'd rather go ahead on and fight it out. Die on my feet than serving on my knees. So you have some people like that. You have some people that say, well, we might as well just go ahead and commit suicide since the water's right here. We might as well just drown ourselves. Better take our own lives than to live a life of slavery and misery. Which is some of our slaves during the transport, some of our people actually during the transport actually did that. During somewhat more modern slavery, a trade during that period of time. And then some people wanted to pray. If you look carefully into all that, Moses addressed every particular person, the 4 different groups, main groups. He addressed them in a statement. And then as a leader, he had to show calm and resolve and confidence. He had to show that. But how did he feel? That's one thing. Though he, as a leader, he had to show like, oh, that's not really much. Then God, I see the situation too. It's not like it just ain't real. And the Creator told him, why are you crying? I can understand the people crying, but I've been working with you all this time. So, but Moses himself, even with the security of the Most High, he cried out, even though not only on the behalf of the people, but It looks like a tall order. Do they deserve this? Because you told me they would go back if they seen war, going that way, the short route. And yet you brought us the long route and told me what's going to happen. And yet I still feel a little iffy about that. I'm not really firm about that. And this is a man of faith. So I just want to home in on that. That's a man of faith that felt a certain way about certain things. And then the Creator told him, why are you crying? And told him what to do. So we know he raised up his hand. God called each wind to go all night. We know there was a cloud. So we know the story. I'm not going to focus on that. The cloud is going on where he had a pillar of darkness to the Egyptians and light for the Israelites. But you know, as the east wind blew, they went across on dry ground through the Yam Suf, which is the Sea of Reeds. Literally, that's what it means, Sea of Reeds, as opposed to the Red Sea, which is about 160 miles away from there, in another direction. But when they went into the sea and went on dry ground, do you know what kind of faith it takes that you got 2 walls of water piled up on both, way up there? You can't even see the top. Because you done went down there, you can't even see the top. And the water's standing up and you don't have no wall to hold it. And they know about glass, making glass, but there's no glass partitions and stuff like that. Like you go to an aquarium and you can see all kind of stuff, right there. And you walking up in there. Now that's a real testimony of faith that way, and on dry ground. And then they never actually went all the way across. Like we think about, a diameter going all the way across from one side to another side, but it was actually a U-turn they actually made within that. When you read and check the geographics that they talk about, they never really actually crossed directly across. They actually made a U-turn. And within the midst of the Yam Suf. But it's far enough and wide enough for those millions of people to go and make the U-turn. And then when the morning light went left, we know that the Egyptians come charging right after them. One always amazes me that if I see somebody going someplace like that, water standing up on both sides, and I'm looking at them, I'll say, okay, they got away. It's almost like you see, if you're a police officer and you're chasing somebody across the rooftop and he runs without breaking a stride and leap from this building with a big gap in between it and land on the other side, he don't even roll out, just land and on his feet, and it seemed like he didn't miss a beat with his stride. You're gonna say, well, it looked like he got away. That's what I would do. I'd say, look like he got away, because I ain't trained to jump that far. So he got away that time. No, the Egyptians just that vehement against Israelites that they decide to go ahead and travel after them amongst all that. Now, so Pharaoh, actually brought his Navy SEALs with him, his elite forces, and then he had regular army guys with him that's coming after these people. All right, so and we know what happened after Moses turned back. They drowned, in the sea. The sea beat them down and everything like that. Their chariots are stuck. A whole lot of stuff going on. So we know the story. I'm not going to focus on the story at this particular time. Those, discuss it further. The depths of what's going on at this particular time when they were getting tossed and destroyed in the sea. But we know right then and there that later on we find out that the Egyptians, they seen them, they said when Moses said, you won't see them no more, then if I don't see you anymore, then how I know you are dead? How I know that you're not coming back? How I know you didn't survive? Because they was washed up from the sea with armor and all that stuff on them. They was washed up on, on the shores. And it's like an attitude of gratitude, just like the Egyptians accompanied our father Yaakov Avinu back to Canaan land, the cave of Machpelah, to be buried. the Creator showed that act of kindness by allowing the Egyptians to come up on land and wash up on the shores of their territory, the land of their nativity. So, and that shows the act of kindness there, because they actually washed up over there. Because we still was in Egypt when we went into the Yam Suf and came out. We was still in the territory, but the frontier territory of Egypt. So those bodies was washed up on the shore. They're washed up on Egyptian territory. So it just some things to show that how God repays certain kindness for kindness. All right, I just now want to speak on this psalm just a little bit. Said, then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spoke, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he is highly exalted. The horse and the rider he had thrown into the sea. All right, now, what we read about, and like I said, and when I did this actual Sidra, that it's written in the style of bricks. You know, most people, when they build a building, that you have a whole brick, and then you put two whole bricks together, and then over top of that, you have a brick straddling, half a brick here, to make it more solid. You don't have the bricks lined up where the line be straight between the bricks. It'd be another brick over that. And then most time when you see a house that's built up, that's how you see it. So the writing in the scrolls and in some books is written almost like if you lay bricks. And there also the Song of the Board, which I'm going to, the Haftarah, is written in that same fashion. Whereas opposed to Song of Hasienu in the book of Deuteronomy is written in columns, like opposing views, pros and cons, negative and positive. All right. So what I like to just bring out that this is the first time you read about people singing, but what's unique about it is that every last one of the whole nation sung this song. And it's always a debate. How was the lead? How was it sung? Was it call and response, or everybody divinely knew the lyrics? But what makes this song so unique is that this is the only song that people sung not only for a victory celebration, and it's not even a tribute to Moshe, but to the Creator and his victory over the Egyptians, but everybody sung it in unison, collectively. That means from the mixed multitude to the elite of the Israelites, all those people that was there, they sung that song collectively. Nowhere in scriptures where you read anybody else ever sung a song collectively as a whole nation. Even in the congregations, all of us don't sing the song. Some of us may not know the words. Some of us might not carry that tune right. Some of us might be out of key. But here in the scriptures, we have an example of song of victory by people, and it didn't say where the lyrics come from. And that's unique. Whereas Hasienu, the Creator, gave us lyrics. Said, look at Moses, Joshua, this is the words to this song. And you make sure you teach them that. We're not told to be taught this song, but we're told to be taught the song in Deuteronomy. So, but this song here is so widely said that every morning those that follow a traditional prayer in the synagogue or wherever it is out the prayer book, it's part of the Shacharit prayer every single morning. So every day you say prayer, if you follow most prayer books or follow a certain tradition, this song is in there and it's part of what you say. This song is said even, and it's older than what they consider the Shomeri Ezra prayer, which is the Amidah, the 18 blessings or whatever. That prayer, the Amidah prayer that he says standing. This song is far older than that. And that's part of every prayer book that they say in the morning, as well as the Amidah. And so can you imagine that since this song has such a value, and this song is in the Chumash, the Amidah is not in the Chumash. All right, so we're gonna move on. I just want to bring out a couple more highlights things in here. We know we complain about water, but I want to speak on the last thing in mind. I'm just gonna skip over that about the water complaint and deal with the manna. And then I'm going to the Haftarah just to save time. I'm not even going to talk about the rock situation either. So we'll touch on a little bit about the Amalek on the way out. All right, but the manna in this particular sidra, picking up from the 16th chapter of Exodus, it said that we'll pick it up in the beginning. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, when we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Now, the Egyptians didn't even want to give us straw, but yet we was able to eat freely, and we had to go get our own straw, and we got beat behind that. But this is our people. All right, just something to discuss further. And then it says, then the Lord said unto Moses, behold, I will cause to rain bread from heaven for you and the people. And the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall be, and it shall come to pass on the 6th day, that they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at evening, then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he had heard your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that you murmur against us? And Moses said, this shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. And the Lord hears your murmurings, which you murmur against him. And what are we? You murmur, your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmur. And it came to pass, as Aaron spoke unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, I have heard their murmurs of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at dusk ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread. And you shall know that I am the Lord. And it came to pass at evening that the quails came up and covered the camp. All right, now what I want to bring out here, this because there's a lot of reading here, and I don't want to read that much on this here. What was interesting is that manna, when we get the rules for manna, it's associated with the Shabbat, and that's what I want to bring out. Manna and the rules for observing the Shabbat is instituted at the exact same time. The quails itself is not correlated with the Shabbat. And you say, well, there's questions you could discuss. Why is the manna correlating with the Shabbat? And the quails is not. When the Creator brought us the quails, and also he brought us manna. All right, so there's a lot of things to discuss. I'm just going to throw some thoughts out there for you to discuss further, because I'm trying to be a little bit shorter with my dissertation sometime. One of the things that when we look at is that the bread is understandable, because we left Egypt with our kneading troughs on our back, and the bread that haven't turned leavening because we didn't have time, so we left in haste. So the bread is understandable. Bread we can see, but do you need meat? The flesh is an extra. So he gave us that, and there's no association with that concerning the Shabbat. But with manna and plus the quails, we have quails every now and then. We have meat every now and then. We don't know how often the quails came throughout our journey to the 40 years. But we know manna came down 40 years, and we got the exact date when manna come down. We got the exact date when manna stopped, which is something for trivials to continue to analyze certain things in scriptures. But what is important in this manna is that the manna associated with the Shabbat, and it's not separate from the Shabbat. You have double loaves, pick up a double portion. Those things, traditional, supposed to represent the double portion. Supposed to represent the double portion we got on Friday, before Shabbat come in. And they tell you about you're supposed to, knead, cook, whatever you're supposed to do. The rules for Shabbat is instituted with the manna, but it's not instituted with the quail. And it's associated with that. Now, manna is coming from heaven, but yet it lands on earth. We add to it by putting our own touch and spin on it, and bring, so it's a combination of heaven and earth, where the Shabbat itself is strictly a spiritual thing. And we add to the Shabbat by our sanctity of trying to keep it holy. So that's so it's just that in a nutshell. But when we talk about certain people that follow, like Beshalach in New York and other congregations, but basically I'm just citing Beshalach in New York. That's under the supervision of Rabbi Yeshurun. That they have this prayer, Shir Hamalot, a prayer, Berachat Hamazon, and the blessing that's said. We have different phases in the blessing, and some of it is some of the things that when we talk about and dealing with the manna and the blessing is that we basically 4 areas that's attributed to that in that blessing. One of the blessings is based on from Moshe time, when say when you ate and be satisfied. So the blessing coming after the meal with Moshe, and that's the only thing that's commanded, that you bless the Creator and thank the Creator after the meal. All right, with Joshua, that the part dealing with the land is attributed to Joshua because Moses wasn't in the land, Joshua was in the land, and manna ceased after the Passover in the land. So so the blessing for the land is part of one of the phases that's spoken on in a blessing, Berachat Hamazon, the blessing for the meal. Then you have David, who blessed Jerusalem, because all you had was the Mishkan, and the Mishkan might be anywhere, but when he brought the ark, to himself, it was at Jerusalem, but this before the temple. And then in that prayer of the Berachat Hamazon that they would say, especially on Shabbat, they not only the prayer after attributed from Moses, the line, a paragraph after that's attributed to Joshua for the land, the part that's attributed to King David, with Jerusalem. With Solomon, it's the sanctuary because he actually built the temple. So now we got a breakdown pretty much of the Berachat Hamazon that most people say after meals in various congregations. And so just to analyze it and look at it, that you also have the term, that's mentioned in there, the word day within this 3 times. That's how you get the 3 types of meals: evening, morning meal, and Sadat Shlishi, the 3rd meal. But those are just some things I'm bringing out that some people do. And as I figure you could tie it into Shabbat, and you can see where certain parts of what you say and what you do by tradition, where it might come from in that area. But manna itself was tied to the Shabbat. So I think I spoke on. But I like to read this last little verse. 33rd. Well, I think I need to bring it up from the 32nd verse of the 16th chapter. And Moses said, "This is the thing which the Lord had commanded. Let an omer of it be kept throughout your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt." Moses said unto Aaron, "Take a jar and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord to be kept throughout your generations. after the Lord commanded Moses. So Aaron laid it up before the testimonies to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat the manna 40 years until they came into the land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came into the borders of the land of Canaan. Now the omer is a 10th part of an ephah. Why I read that? I read that simply because it's not in chronological order. We didn't have a Mishkan yet. We didn't have a Mishkan till about 11 months later. That's when we got a Mishkan. So therefore, Aaron could not take a omer at that particular time until we had already erected the Mishkan. So this is something that, sometimes we be speed reading and we think, we might not pay attention to the chronological order. But in order for Aaron to exercise and perform that command, it had to be done after the Mishkan is dedicated by those 12 tribes. So it'd be basically talking 11 months later, plus that this law that was given to Aaron for all generations could be put into place. And it said 40 years. We know we're going to do a 40-year bid until later. So that's what I want to bring out. And the last thing I want to bring out about Amalek. One of the things that we're going to get into the next schedule with Yisrael is that Amalek himself, when we look at Amalek, here it is, the Egyptians was the powerhouse of the world. We read that, and as we go in the next schedule, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, heard about all that God did to the Egyptians. Amalek had to hear. 40 years later, the people of the land still remember what they heard. So how's Amalek go out their way to attack Israel? Out their way, without a reason. Causes hatred. That's another one, causes hatred. Pharaoh at least come up with a reason. So look, you all up in here, you're doing well, and I don't know where your allegiance lie and everything like that. So I got to come with this propaganda talk, and start my racist talk right now. But Amalek, what we have to do with you? Oh, you might be still angry because of what happened to your father centuries ago. So this is the thing about Amalek as first of the nations. So he came and chose to fight with us. And they also was attacking us from the rear, which you find out later on as well. So we know that Moses told Joshua to choose men after God told him to fight with Amalek. So Joshua had to choose men. I want you to think about them choosing men. Say, who are you going to choose? Not from the one tribe? No, whoever I can get there, I think will do the job. And then we noticed that Moses, was on the mountain when they fought against Amalek. And this is a victory that they had where you don't read about casualties on either side. I know brothers and sisters like to think, hey, we slaughtered a lot of Amalekites. We killed them at that time. So they that was it. We beat them down. So they had a lot of dead bodies. We don't read that in scriptures. All we read about in scriptures is that they discomfited Amalek and caused them to withdraw. Because when we left, we didn't really have a standing army. He had to make an army on the spot. And when Moses held his hands up, we was winning. When he dropped them down, we was losing. And so we got two main guys, her and his brother Aaron, set him down, stone under him, and he sat up on the stone. He figured that's uncomfortable to sit on a stone, but the people fighting. And he held his hands up in the air to the going down the sun. But they call him Yadai Emunah, hands of faith. Amen not only means come from the word it's a root for the word truth. Amen is not only a root for the word truth, but it also means to be steady, steadfast in that sense, firm. So And so the word faith is made up of that same word. That's why it's Yadai, Yadai Emunah, hands of faith. That they held his hands of faith up. And what it is that faith is not just decrees, and say I believe in decrees. That's not faith. Faith is your loyalty and what you do concerning your loyalty. That is really what faith is. And so that's what the people of Israel exercised in that battle. All right, but we don't read about how many guys died in that particular battle. So I'm gonna skip on that and go to the Haftarah and try to be a little bit more brief if I can. And if not, just make a comment and say, look, Prince, that's too long. And I'll try to shorten it up a little bit better. But it was just so much stuff in there, and I try to, I find it so exciting when I go over it and I hear so many brothers speak on certain things. So I say, wow, it's like inspiration point. But in the book of Judges, I just want to give you some backdraft. Now, in the book of Judges is, they use the word show 15. Now, that period comes up after Joshua and all the elders that outlived Joshua. We were just okay. And it's like, all right, we are leaderless people. We don't have no leader. We just move as we feel throughout while we're in the land. So we do a little something and we mess up. We stop doing law. We stop following God. We're in our land. We were so spread out, separate. So, and Deborah, just give a little backdraft on her, and from the Ashkenazi point of view, in the 4th chapter, it says, now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidot, that she judged Israel at that time. And she sat under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinadab, out of the Kadesh Naphtali, and said to him, have not the Lord thy God, Israel, the God of Israel, commanded, saying, go and draw towards Mount Tabor and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun, and I will draw unto thee to the brook Kishon the Sisera, captain of Jabin's army, with his chariot and with his multitude, and I have delivered them into thy hand. And Barak said unto her, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thy honor. For the Lord will give Sisera over into the hands of a woman. And Deborah rose and went with Barak. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali together to Kadesh. And there went up with him 10,000 men at his feet. And Deborah went up with him. I just want to stop there and just bring out that little point here. One of the things I like to bring about Deborah, they say her husband was Eshet Lapidot. Now, Eshet Lapidot could be interpreted several ways. It could be the wife of a guy named Lapidot, or the wife, I would say a woman of the flame. Lapidot means a flame or candle wick. And you say, well, okay, why, it just translates wife here. It was a husband named Lapidot. He could have had more than one name. There's a lot of stories behind that. But I like to bring that out. When we look in the Proverbs, the 31st chapter, it says Eshet Hayil. Is that the wife of a guy named Bala? The wife of a soldier? Or a woman of virtue? So when we say Eshet Hayil, it says a woman of virtue. So when you say Deborah, which her name means queen bee, or bee that stings, and it comes similar to the word davash, which is like honey. And said, what was her attitude? Was a flame, So that means that, and Barak itself means lightning. That's what his name means, lightning. So sometimes they have a lot of stories about it. I just want to share just one quick thing. If you believe that she was a wick maker, that she made wicks for the Mishkan and stuff like that, as a flame. But one thing I like to bring out also in this is that it says she's a prophetess, but she also sat in the role as a judge. And that's the first time you read where a female sitting in a role as a judge, especially amongst Israelites. And she didn't judge all Israel. She judged a portion of Israel, because I said that during the time of Judges, every man did what was right in their own eyesight. Also, what you need to say, well, why buy a palm tree? Why not buy oak? Why not buy cedar Lebanon? You know, why not buy a sycamore tree? Why not buy a fig tree? And unlike those trees, first of all, she stayed in the open when she judged people. It wasn't no closed door situation where you come on out. So it's out. If you sitting by a palm tree to judge Israel, everybody can see you. So you can't say, come into my private room and let's discuss your problem. Let me adjudicate your issue in private, because she's a woman, and certain things it should, you know, you should be be circumspect concerning. So her integrity, you could never charge her with, are you really interested in that man? Or you and that guy was back there for a long time, because her stuff was out in the open. Now, why that particular tree? A palm tree is unique from other different trees. Every tree has its unique quality, but the palm tree is unique in this fashion. The palm tree actually have its leaves way at the top. It don't have branches and stuff coming out the side. It's just a trunk with leaves up top. Some palms may have, fruit on it, like coconuts, whatever case is, they call that palm tree. But the normal palm tree, and most palm trees pretty much go up and the branches at the top. Where other trees, they have branches all through the side. The other trees have sap coming out of the branch and the trunk. So the same sap that's in the trunk is in the branches of the other trees. In the palm tree, you only have sap in the trunk. The branch and leaves don't have any sap in it. That's why they pretty much, those that make, the lulav and stuff like that, it's dry. There's no sap in those branches and leaves that they use. That they use from the palm tree, whereas the other trees has actually sap in the branches and have sap in the trunk. So metaphysically, they try to use it as an analogy that other branches spread out and have other allegiance to this trunk. Their allegiance might spread out. Though they come from the trunk of the tree, they spread out and have allegiance this way, that way, north, east, west, and south. We as Israelites have allegiance to one God. So therefore, our essence, our sap is only in our trunk, which is our root coming up. But we don't spread and say, look, I want to go with this God, I want to go with that God. We are special and unique for as a people. So it's to teach a certain lesson in that metaphysically as well. So it is not only to show her her modesty, but also the type of tree itself, which makes it different from other trees. And then Barak, she calls him up. He's supposed to be the warrior, and made a big difference between the warrior of Barak and the warriors. Moses giving a pep talk in problems, and Barak didn't want to go, and he was told. And I don't want to go too much in the backdraft for that, but one of the things is this, that he was told to get 10,000 men, but he couldn't, he just called them out. He didn't choose them. He just called out, and whoever was willing to take the call came out. Hence the song gonna reflect that he just couldn't go ahead and choose people, say, look, we got a fight going on, I need 10,000 guys. No, he just had to call out all those that are willing to fight against this guy, this army here. And then to show he's afraid, God's telling him already that I'm gonna make him come and fight with you. It's different if you say, well, I'm looking to fight somebody. But there's another thing when you say, you go over there and God said, I'm gonna make him come and fight with you. So he said, well, I'm not really tuned up for that. I don't think I did enough road work for that. But this is what happened in here. And then when we know that he dies, after he had 900 chariots of iron, and we know that he wound up in a situation similar to Pharaoh, but it was like a rainy season, a deep rainy season. And one of the things that said God would cause him to go, because he knew the terrain. You got iron chariots. Why would you go take your iron chariots when you know people up in Mount Tabor, and you know iron chariots heavy, and it's a rainy season, and you say, "Well, I got 900 chariots, and I'm gonna go ahead and make this trek." Only God made him come out like that, because under normal circumstances, as a general, a captain, he's not stuck on foolishness, but God caused his heart to say, "Go out there and get them guys on the line, get them under control." And that's one of the things that sometimes we don't see, that God caused them to go. And then imagine that in the heat of a battle, you're a general, a captain, all right? And when you're a captain, you get up there and you say, "Oh man, my chariot's stuck. I'm gonna lead a chariot. I'm not even gonna try to get the horse. I'm not even gonna try to get the horse, whoever pulling the chariot, that could run faster than me. I'm gonna have to take this on foot." Now that's a panic. Anytime a guy says, "Look here, this ain't fast enough." It reminds me of the old Superman movies when I was a kid. The guy shoots Superman with the bullets and then throw the gun and then still try to punch him in the stomach. The bullet, each thing got weaker. The bullets was the thing that's supposed to do the damage, the main damage. Then he throws the gun at him, and that's hard in his fist. Then he punch him in the stomach, such as this guy here, Cicero, on his flight. So we're just gonna go straight into the. We know that we talk about a woman, Yael, another woman in here, who actually nails his head with a tent peg when she comes in. Supposed to be the in-laws to Moses' family, father, descendants, Moses' father descendants, and father-in-law descendants, I should say, father-in-law descendants. Let me be more correct in that area. And we know that automatically that in that manner that Moses, that's when he was running, he goes into this woman's tent. Now remember I told you the contrast where the sanctity of Deborah is clear because she's out in the open under a palm tree, but yet here it is, this guy, he was friends with her husband. She's in the tent. He's in her husband's tent in the bed and tells his wife to stand guard. Now, that don't look good at all for her or him as a status, even though he's fleeing in battle. And she gave him some warm milk. We know the story. After she gave him warm milk, and she crept up on him with a tent peg and a hammer and nailed his head to the ground. And then she told the people, Barak and them, that the guy you're looking for is right here. And so now the victory goes to the Barak and all the people there. But actually, she actually got the victory because she actually got the main guy. I just want to take this moment just to point out, because I hear stuff about women's with the trousers and stuff like that, and the only law and the Deuteronomy about the pants. So I just got to bring this out in passing. Not gonna change anybody's what you do, ruling, whatever rules you got for your different congregations. That's what you have. But I just listened to the discussions about that area about pants and trousers. You notice she took a tent peg, a working tool, and a hammer, another working tool, and killed this guy. She didn't. Now, one of the reasons in the Apocrypha, they got the book of Judith in the Apocrypha, and she cut off a general's head. They call off of this in the Apocrypha. For those that read the Apocrypha, those is non-canonical books of the scriptures, 14 books, and it's outside books. One of the reasons the book of Judith is there is because she tried to make herself look sexy, though she was a widow. That's a red flag. And she happened to have a sword that she killed this man with. Seduced him like that. Whereas this Bedouin woman, Yael, she didn't try to seduce the guy. She offered him a spot to lay his head. And she took something that's legally to use, because a woman can work alongside her husband, help setting up the tent, and killed him with that. It's not where there's no swords around. So that's one of the reasons why the book of Judith or Yehudah, is put in the Apocrypha and then wasn't canonized, even though she helped with the victory back then. But the way she looked, she hooked herself up, that even the priest had to look at it, a certain way, according to that in the Apocrypha. For those that are not familiar with it, it might be a story to look into and contrast to this. All right. And I said that to reflect back on the Deuteronomy, the saga about, what we don't have women looking like Xena the warrior princess and stuff like that, and going out to battles alongside. And that's basically what the book is talking about. All right, we can pick it up from the song, and we're just going to touch on it a little bit. All right, 5th chapter, Judges.
We're in the book of Judges, chapter 5, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Then sang Deborah and Barak the son of Abinoam on that day, saying, when men let grow they hair in Israel, when the people offer themselves willingly, bless ye Yahweh. Hear, O ye kings, give ear, O ye princes. I unto Yahweh will I sing. I will sing praise to Yahweh, the God of Israel.
All right, now it's the same thing with the song that they see, because like I said, last Shabbat that just passed called Shabbat Shirah, which is a Sabbath of songs, and you have 2 songs there. So this is the correlation between the Haftarah and actually what the Sidra was, and also from the Ashkenazi point of view, they even go further when they get the backdrop about the situation. But what we find here that's interesting, that men let their hair grow. What men usually let their hair grow long? Those that's under a vow of Nazarite. There you go. Thank you very much. Nazarite. Not a Nazarite that wouldn't fight, but a Nazarite that get down. Dedicate themselves to God, and so, and they say, well, I'm not fighting because I'm fighting for a cause. And one of the things about battle is that if you go into battle and fighting only because you want to save your life, you're going to lose. If you go into battle fighting for a cause, then most likely you're going to win. So that's the difference in, the ideology. That if you're worried about, I'm just trying to survive here, then you won't survive. But if you're fighting for a cause, then you got extra help there. All right. And then that's why I said, and hear ye kings, give ear, O princes. I unto the Lord will sing. All right. So that means, and I will sing praises to the Lord, the God of Israel. So all this praise to the Creator. Go ahead, 4th verse.
Verse 4 reads, Yahweh, when thou didst go forth out of Seir, when thou didst march out of the field of Edom, the earth trembled, and the heavens also dropped. Yea, the clouds dropped water. The mountains quaked at the presence of Yahweh, even Yon Sinai at the presence of Yahweh, the God of Yisrael.
Keep going.
In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anath, in the days of Yael, the highways ceased, and the travelers walked through the byways.
Hold right there before we go there. That means people had to take the scenic route. There used to be a commercial about bullying and stuff like that years ago on TV. And they said, I hear you, son, you're taking a long way home. So it was just that dangerous for merchants and everybody else. All right. And it said, the root, 7th verse. Go ahead, pick it up.
Verse 7 reads, the rulers ceased in Israel. They ceased until that thou didst arise, Deborah, that thou didst arise, a mother in Israel.
Hold right there. We didn't have no one particular ruler running anything. We was like, all right, we got a problem. We got to get somebody to run things now. We got to get people in charge right now because we got a problem. Is this. Before that, I don't know the neighbor who's over there. But when we got a problem collectively, say, well, now we got to get us some organization. It's rough getting an organization when you got problems. You're supposed to have the organization to avoid the problems. But Israel was not organized. So that's why usually when you read about the book of Judges, we only stay organized as long as the judge is there. All right, pick it up from there.
Verse 8, it reads, they chose new gods. Then was war in the gates. Was there a shield or spear seen among 40,000 in Israel? My heart is
full. Right, before we get there, we had no army. Israel never had an army to King Saul's time. That's the first time we really got an army, when they were united under one king. So that means during the time of Samuel, he's the last judge until we got King Saul. So that means after Joshua and the elders, we're going through centuries of just strong men coming up. Who you are? Well, can you handle the job? Then you in charge. And you're in charge only of a certain section. That means that though Deborah was, and Barak was over certain areas, he wasn't over all Israel. And that's the thing. We didn't deal with each other's problems back then. So we only had an army then. So can you imagine when problem hit, they say we got to muster an army? That it's almost like when I watched it, I always admired that movie 300 with the Spartans. And one of the Greeks, the Athenian Greeks leader said, Leonidas, this is all the men you brought. I thought you'd bring much more. I know I couldn't count on you. And he asked, what does a guy profession? A potter, a sculptor, and other guys are, some kind of artist, a cook. And Leonidas asked his men, the Spartans said, Spartans, what are their profession? And they said, who? That means this is what they do. They battle.
That's what we do.
And he said, seemed like I brought more soldiers than you. All right. So the thing is that we didn't have nothing where we could say, until we got a king and said, this is the army. But before that, that's why I said no spear, because we weren't about to fighting. When we left Egypt, we didn't want to fight. And even though it says we left with our lances and our armies by our hosts, we think of the hosts as armies, but we're standing there looking like somebody, but we're not anybody without God. Let's read a little bit further from picking up from
verse 9. It reads, my heart is toward the governors of Israel that offer themselves willingly among the people. Bless ye, ye that ride on white asses, ye that sit on rich cloths, and ye that walk by the way, tell of it. Louder than the voice of archers by the water and trouts. Then shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yehovah, even the righteous acts of his rulers in Israel. Then the people of Yehovah went down to the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah. Awake, awake, utter a song. Arise, Barak, and lead thy captivity captive, thou son of Abinoam. Then made he a remnant to have dominion over the nobles and the people.
I was going to pass through this part with the awake, but it was kind of difficult for me to do that. There's a lot of comments on this. It's the woman. Now Yael got the victory, but Deborah is in charge of Barak. She summons Barak. She didn't go to meet him. So, and it's like, awake, awake. So it's like, sometimes, sadly enough, when we get into a certain authority, they kind of be a little bit more abusive in their authority, so to speak. And because Barak is a general, and he's in leadership, and Creator had told him. But when we look at Barak, she summons him. We get another example of that with the prophetess Huldah in the book of in the Chronicles, when it said, tell that man, not tell the king, tell that man. So, a lot of people, when they look at that, they say, oh man, she's, sometimes women's, when they get into now mind you, now I don't have a problem with women's having knowledge. I don't have a problem with women's prophecies. I don't have a problem with that. So I want to make sure I get that clear across the screen. Now, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying that in certain instances, sometimes, when we look real tight, because we always look for the fine things about other things in scriptures, but we don't look at the role that sometimes a woman might step into that's not appropriate. Because even Deborah recognized this battle, that woman shouldn't get the victory. But since I got to go with you, that woman going to get the victory, which is Yael, out of place, from her perspective. All right. Also, the way she's moving, you call Barak, you tell him what you got to do. And you say, I'm go ahead on there, almost like Moses. I'm standing up there and watch you do your thing. All right. So I'm just coming there as your support. But you gonna be out there, almost like Moses in the center, where he's standing with his hands up on a hill with his hands up. So it's those type of things that not just me, other commentaries had issues with in that area. But I want to say once again for the record that I don't say a woman can't be smarter than a man. I don't say a woman don't have, her worth as far as prophetess, because we know we got some good prophetess there. But when we look at some of the outstanding prophetess in the book, Miriam had an issue. It says her name even preceded that of her brother, who was a priest at the time. So it's just a thing where everything must be done decently and in order and according to the will of God. And even great people, strong people could have an Achilles heel, become and do some things out of perspective. All right, we're gonna jump on down to the 14th verse. Let's skip down to 14.
Verse 14 reads, out of Ephraim came they whose root is in Amalek. After thee, Benjamin among thy peoples. Out of Machir came down governors, and out of Zebulun they that handled the marshal's staff. And the princes of Issachar were with Deborah. As was Issachar, so was Barak. Into the valley they rushed forth at his feet. Among the divisions of Reuben there were great resolves of heart.
Right there before we go to 16. All right. Oh, no, matter of fact, read the next one. Read 16. That explains pretty much. Keep going.
Verse 16. Why sattest thou among the sheepfolds to hear the pipings of the flocks? At the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings for heart.
Keep going.
Had abode beyond the Jordan, and Dan, why doth he sojourn by the ships? Asher dwelt at the shore of the sea, and abided by its base.
All right, stop right there. Reuben, remember that they was on the other side of Jordan now. Naphtali is across the Jordan. Zebulun is across the Jordan, towards the north. All right, and also Dan itself was a controlling camp towards the north. For a standard bearer in the north. But Reuben, half tribe of Manasseh, and part of the tribe, and God, they was across the Jordan. Now, remember, those that follow the history, after they got the inherited land of Sihon and all, that they sent a troop over there to help them settle the land for 14 years. 14 years, they figured they did my job. I'm going all the way back across the Jordan. Now y'all supposed to hold it down over there. So I don't know. It's like some guy said, look here, I'm a veteran now. No need me going back to war. No need me getting involved in that. I mean, we handling this stuff on this side. Y'all should be able to handle that stuff over there because we went and fought over there as well. So, whatever's going on in their head. And today, we wanted to stay over here because we want to be shepherds. We ain't try to be a fighter all our life. We want to do what we do. So those are some of the things here. All right, so I'm just going to skip on down until, skip on down to the 24th verse.
Verse 24 reads, blessed above women shall Yael be. The knife of Heber, the Kenite, above women in the tent shall she be blessed. Water he asked, milk she gave him, and the lordly bowl she brought him curd. Her hand she put to the tent pin, and her right hand to the workman's hammer. And with
I guess she was right. I guess she was right-handed. So we're sure we know she was right-handed. That's for sure. Go ahead.
And with the hammer she smote Sisera. She smote through his head, yea, she pierced and struck through his temples. At her feet he sunk. He fell, he lay. At her feet he sunk. He fell. Where he sunk, there he fell down dead. Through the window she looked forth and peered, the mother of Sisera, through the lattice. Why why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarry the wheels of his chariots? The wisest of her princesses answered her, yea. She returned an answer to herself. Are they not finding, are they not dividing the spoil? A damsel, 2 damsels to every man. To Sisera a spoil of dyed garments, a spoil of dyed garments of embroidery, 2 dyed garments of embroidery for the neck of every spoiler. Verse 31, so perish all thine enemies, O Yehovah, but they that love him be as the sun when it goeth forth in his might, and the land had rest 40 years. Hallelujah.
All right. Now, what was it? And the thing there is that we know automatically that that Yael was blessed coming from the ball because of what she did in securing the even though it looks, really, really rough and, deceptive. And you say, well, it's better that a non-Israelite be that deceptive as a female than an Israelite female being that deceptive. And that's another reason why Judith has made it into the Apocrypha as opposed to this, because that deception itself as well was involved. And then, when she hit him in the tent peg, now, usually the first blow might cause him to react and become conscious for a minute. Even though she hit it hard, sometimes it's almost like a person getting knocked out and you hit him again and he's wake right up. You know what I mean? So and going to the temple, man, that means that she really laid it in there several times to come from one side of his head to the other side of his head, straight to the floor. She kept banging it till he actually couldn't move anymore. His upper body, his head. And naturally, the mother giving a lot of pep talk, figuring the spoil. That's the similar thing about how we left Egypt with the spoil. So we got some of what I said. I know I went through this here really fast, the Haftarah part, but it's very long and extensive, and there's a lot of points there to be discussed amongst various congregations, moral issues and united issues. Because here we in the land, and it said we had rest for 40 years. Why we had rest for 40 years? As long as guys like Barak and Deborah was alive for 40 years, that section of Israel didn't have a problem. Not every section had the problem. That's why it was much derision and stuff amongst the other tribes of Israel, because your problem is across the neighborhood. It's not over here. So with that, hope you got some out of what I said, and any mistakes been my own.
Hallelujah. Blessed be Torah by Nasik. May the Most High God bless you.
And all of us. All right. That's wrong.